Blake, what's the unofficial ChurchGear motto?
Never disagree with Tony.
Welcome to the ChurchGear podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, a man who has gotten so used to calling Toby Tony that I don't even know what his real name is anymore. And sitting with me, the man himself, he's just got out of his pizza joint, Tony Walters.
It's Tony Waters. Come on.
Tony Waters. That's right. That's right.
And just background for our listeners on this story. This started with an employee of ours that his name is Jack, and we love Jack, but we're totally going to throw Jack under the bus on this podcast because he deserves it.
Jack and Jill fell down the hill.
So Jack, 17 years old at the time, and I ran into him at a local restaurant outside of work. And I was like, oh, hey, Jack. And he says, oh, Mr. Tony. And I thought at first he was joking. And then he turns to his buddy who's next to him and says, this is my boss, Mr. Tony. And I'm like, Jack, you do realize my name is Toby, right? And he's like, he was so embarrassed. It was hilarious.
That's amazing. And it's not just him. Like autocorrect tries to make your name Tony all the time to where I've stopped fighting it.
And what's really weird is I would assume people would mistake my name growing up for Tony. But the most common mistake I got was Todd. People call me Todd.
You don't look anything like Todd Elliott.
He is like 57,000 times more handsome than I am.
58,000.
58. Okay. So, all right, Blake, we are in a series right now. We're talking about this mystical book that I wrote. So I wrote a book called Sacred Spaces, Modern Production.
Allegedly wrote a book.
You can go to tobywalters.com or churchgear.com/Toby Walters to get you to the same place.
Or Tony Walters.
Or Tony Waters. .com. No, that's not a thing. Really, the intention behind the book is to take all these amazing stories, all these amazing churches that we've talked to, the production that they're able to put on, and can we package it down into something that a church of any size and resource level can apply to their church? So,
and ChatGPT said, yes, I can, Tony.
Yeah. People are going to assume I use chat for a lot of this. I did not. I used it to help organize ideas a little bit, but once you read the book, Blake, you'll realize oh, yes, Toby definitely wrote this because it's not that good.
I'm going to need you to sign in blood inside of a church for I believe you didn't use your favorite toy to write your first book.
So today we're talking about specifically a chapter in the book where we talk about, it's called Occam's razor. Really, the idea is the simplest solution is oftentimes the right one. And so just like I fire you all the time, that is the simplest solution around here at ChurchGear to make things better, but you just keep showing up. So talking about kind of the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. Blake, I literally have a family that lives across the street named the Joneses. So that's interesting.
Especially for I don't want to make a joke at their expense. That's really funny. Yeah. That's even deeper.
So we see what other people are doing, what other people have, and we think, well, we got to do that. And so when talking about church production, especially in this post-COVID era where you can see what every other church is doing online and you can see the biggest churches in the world doing the most amazing things, and you have $3 and 2 volunteers and think, well, what am I supposed to do? And so really we're trying to encourage churches and production leaders and pastors and worship leaders that you don't have to have what the Joneses have, what these other churches have, that there are simple solutions. And so, Blake, we kind of joked at the very beginning of this podcast, ChurchGear's unofficial motto.
Don't spend money. It's our 7th core value, unofficially.
Basically. And that's based on how I was raised. Dad, if you go ahead and text Blake after listening to this episode that, oh, yes, Toby was raised to rub 2 nickels together and figure it out because we didn't have any money. Did you feel poor growing up, Blake, or were you guys lower class, middle class?
I think we were technically a tick under middle, which I think is the best place to be.
Yeah. Because
I've now seen a lot of my friends who grew up rich and their standard of living has gone down. That's kind of a tough thing to start out at.
Yeah. And I do worry about that with my kids a little bit. You guys have it pretty good, children.
Living in Franklin.
Yeah. But it's amazing. My 13-year-old son has said recently, our house is too big. I want a smaller house when I grow up. And I'm like, that's my boy.
There you go. He only needs 1 nickel.
Yeah. But, kind of the idea here at ChurchGear is you don't need to buy everything new. That's why we buy used production equipment a lot of the times. And you don't need a bunch of money to have all these fancy ideas come to fruition, that there are creative, unique ways not to spend a lot of money, but still have a great result. And which is why I hired you, Blake.
You beat me to it. I was going to say that's why he hired me, because he
Yeah.
can pay me low and have a great result.
So I thought it'd be a great conversation today to just talk about Occam's razor, just simple solutions for churches of any size to apply to their production setups and hopes and dreams to actually come out with a good product. Like this podcast, Blake.
But see, like this podcast and like your book, didn't you
Yeah.
interview a bunch of people?
I sure did.
'Cause-
I'm not an expert on anything, Blake. So that's why I brought in the experts.
Yeah, you're just good at structure and stuff. So we
Mhm.
actually need to import some intelligence
Yes.
in here. So bringing in the intelligence is the red-bearded dragon, Florida man himself, the alleged employee business developer at ChurchGear, maybe allegedly, maybe not, Jerod Togger. Welcome to the podcast. He did not hear us. That was a fail. Did you not hear me say welcome to the podcast, Togger?
No, you froze.
You froze. I didn't freeze. It's hot as Hades up in here. I can't freeze.
So, Togger, and I want to specify, like, I brought in a lot of people at different churches to kind of tell their stories and interview for the book. I did not interview Togger for the book.
How could you?
But I wrote this chapter and then immediately sent it to Togger and said, can you check this to make sure it's not wrong?
You should send the
Sure.
entire book to Togger and
Yes.
say that.
Now, I'm afraid that the title Razor's in there because, well, I don't like those,
No.
but
We're going to cut off that red beard. We're going to see what that face actually looks like under that beard.
That's his like plan to get away from arson. Like after he, commits it,
Yep.
he can then shave his beard, move to a different city. You'll never know it's him.
All right, Togger, your Blake says unofficial. It is very official. Your title here at ChurchGear is Director of Business Development. We don't know what that means other than your job is to be smarter than Blake and I. So according to that measurement,
You get a raise.
that's the easiest job on the planet. So tell us just a very quick snapshot of your background in church production. How'd you get into it? What's kind of been your highlights that led to your role here at ChurchGear today?
yeah, definitely. So I started in church production pretty early on, and probably around 13 or 14, got into it, got into mixing audio and things like that as I progressed, and oversaw a smaller church that grew into be a mega church, and we had about 9 campuses, and I eventually took over as production director there and oversaw that for a number of years, and transitioned out of that in 2020 and kind of did my own business, helping build relationships with churches and things. Fast forward just a little bit more, and here I am.
Here you are.
He left out a critical spot in that story. In 2020 or maybe 2021, we start the podcast and I'm fishing for people on Instagram. I'm like, do you have a beard? Are you a production person? And are you wearing all black in your profile? And I was like, Toby, this guy looks like he could be on the podcast. And now he works at ChurchGear.
So we have you to thank for Jerod Togger.
For like half the people that work here. I was counting it up. It's a lot.
Yeah, nothing like you to, raise up your stakes here at ChurchGear.
I had to bring them in to mask my shortcomings.
Yeah.
Each person that comes in has to take on 10% of my job description. That's
Oh,
the
man.
deal I make with them before they come in.
And Togger, everybody listen to this podcast that has a smaller church is thinking, oh, great, we're just going to follow this advice. And then we'll end up as a mega church with 9 campuses. Is that correct?
Not quite, but we can definitely do some things to make the value better that's
Yeah.
happening there.
All right, Togger, let's start with way too big a picture. So, churches like Elevation or Willow Creek or Gateway, all these, large influential churches that have these amazing live streams, we're watching them. Just give us in your brain, it's going to take X amount to get a system like that set up, this many production staff, this much volunteers, to just get an overarching perspective of if you want a Gateway style live stream, this is what it's going to take.
Oh gosh, in the millions.
Yeah.
In the millions to do exactly the way that they're doing, in the millions. Now, if we want to get it to sound as good as that, we can do that in the thousands.
Okay. So that brings up an interesting point. We call it AVL, audio video lighting. Did you know that AVL stood for that, Blake?
I thought it stood for always violent laughter, which is
Perfect.
what I've been doing on this podcast.
So, Togger, AVL, but, this day, especially post-COVID, we're watching these live stream. And do you feel like churches are when they don't know, they're thinking video first because they're watching video?
I think everybody thinks, you should do video first, because they've pulled up a video, they've seen a photo, an Instagram reel somewhere, and they think that's the answer.
Yeah.
It's definitely not, in my opinion, and lots of others' opinions as well.
Okay, so with audio, video, lighting, where should we start?
Right at the top of audio.
Great. Okay, are we talking audio for that Instagram post, or are we talking audio in the room?
Audio
both, because if we fix the room, we can fix the audio on the Instagram post.
Okay, you said something very important, fix the room. Talk to us. I make the point in the book that the very first thing you should do is that. So talk to us from a production guy's perspective on how critical it is to fix the room when you're talking about great audio.
Absolutely. When you're listening to something in your AirPods, for example, and you like the way it sounds, well, they've spent time in a studio somewhere mixing that. So the best thing we can do is to fix the room, meaning let's treat the acoustics. Unlike the room that I'm in right now, you want the acoustics to be great and dead so that you can not hear the slap back. And when someone claps here, 6 hand claps back at you, you want to fix that first. So fixing that is the first kind of step. The second is talking about your sources and microphones. So getting those things right, getting instruments tuned, making sure microphones are in correct places, making sure they're the correct microphones to begin with.
Yeah, I think we all get caught up with the toys. We see a Digico 338, we see a Yamaha Ravage, and we think that's what we need. We need the mixer at front of house. But I love that you're saying before you can even get to the mixer, you have to have the analog, the actual real world that's coming to your mixer. You have to fix that first. And I laugh because you said the room you're in. And isn't Florida trying to destroy your life right now? Your fiber's been cut off, your electricity's been cut off.
Your fiber's been cut off.
My fiber internet's been cut.
You need your chia seeds, brother.
I know. Very important. Got to start with smoothies every day with chia.
So where are you joining us from today that it's a kind of echoey room?
I am joining you from a private library room where I can actually speak in normal volume and not get kicked out, hopefully, maybe.
Obviously, this library needs to fix their room first.
Absolutely.
What percentage of churches do you think this day and age you go in and they say, it doesn't sound right, and you look around and you're like, the first thing we need to do is fix the acoustics in your room?
I would say 1 in 9. Out of 10, it's 1 in 9. Every other one just seems to be, wow, this hasn't been fixed. Now there are exceptions where they've spent a lot of money fixing the room, but they stopped at the acoustics and they didn't bother with the microphones or something else.
So do we have to inform Togger he's really bad at math? He said,
yeah, I realized that just as I said that one, and I was like,
time, wouldn't that be 4.5 out of 9?
I realized that just as I said that. Yeah, it's like every other church.
So if you don't fix the room first, you are already working against reality. And that's going to constantly fight the sound that you're going for.
Yep, you're working against physics, and physics wins every time.
Yeah.
The loudest thing to the microphone always wins. So got to fix the room to dampen the noise that gets into the microphone to begin with before we can get anything good from that.
It's like if you try to run a marathon underwater.
Impossible.
Blake, do you think you could run the 100-yard dash faster on land than Usain Bolt could do underwater? That'd be an interesting race.
I can for sure crush it on land if he's underwater. Underwater, I mean, you can't move. It's like if you're swimming. If you're swimming, sure.
No, but you're running.
Yeah, impossible.
Yeah.
Well, because you're also having to put weights on your feet, blow the air out of your mouth, torture.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that guy they had to set up the screen that told us that story on the podcast underwater, and they were Togger. This dude straight up was diving down with a team of 4.
Yeah, that was Brad McCraw.
lifting this like projector underwater. They'd move it a couple feet, then they'd swim back up, and they had to like move this projector to the middle of a lake. I think that's against the Geneva Convention.
That's crazy.
That was a wild story. All right, Togger. So let's magically assume church of 500 people. They fixed their room. Thank Jesus. Now they have physics to work with. They thought about their sources. They tuned their drums. They trained their singers to sing on key. They got decent microphones. So let's talk like actual sound system. Does everybody need, a $300,000 soundscape rig in the room? Or once you have a good source and a good room, does that open up a lot more possibilities with PA that you don't have to spend crazy amounts to get a decent sound?
Yeah, it opens up a ton of possibilities. I see churches spend way too much money on a bigger PA a lot of times instead of fixing the room, but that's actually just causing more issues in the room because now it's louder. So by fixing the room first, we can spend a little bit less on a PA, can find something great used from, maybe us at ChurchGear, maybe another church that has some extra things laying around if they're really shorthanded on funds, or if they're ready to spend on a new PA, we can help find that too. So doing that is great, but you don't have to spend tons of money on that. You can get away with some EAW speakers, and a halfway decent sound system is ready to go because you fixed the room and you're not battling the physics as much.
And another thing we're seeing a lot of online, when you watch Gateway, you watch Elevation, they have, 12 singers up there dancing around and moving around, and they all have these beautiful wireless mics. And they have wireless in-ear packs, and there's, the guitarists have wireless. And so how many wireless would you recommend for a small church that thinks we want to do something similar?
So I always tell churches to start with whoever is not tied to an instrument. So if it's your singers and they don't have an instrument tied to them, let's get them on some wireless in-ears to start. They can still be on a wired microphone, still move around with the wire on the microphone. So let's start there. From there, move up to maybe the wireless microphones, but keeping the drummers and the guitarists and all that on a wired in-ear system, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to save some money, but still keeping the people free in the front to lead and move around. So I would say if we start with 3 to 4 wireless in-ears, 1 to 2 wireless microphones to start, and then add on from there as you grow.
Okay, so if we're talking about, you got drummer and 2 guitarists and keyboard players, and you got half a dozen singers, you're going to end up with, a dozen people on stage. And if we're talking, the majority of these are on wired SM58s, 57s, normal stuff versus let's get everybody on wireless. Are you talking like it's twice the price? It's 5 times the price? Like how big a jump in money if you want to get everybody on wireless?
If you wanted to get everybody on wireless in-ears, wireless microphones, it's about a $2,500 to $3,000 jump per microphone per in-ear. So $6,000 a person, if you're just jumping right in, is pretty entry level price. Once you factor in the antennas and everything you need to make that work properly. And so it can add up quick.
Yeah. And to just put everybody on wired mics, again, like a used 58, you can get for $50 or $60.
Yep. It's still the best microphone in the industry.
Yeah.
It takes a beat and keeps on working, and it sounds great every time.
Okay. So let's assume we've, followed logical steps to have good audio in the room. We got great audio in the room now. And so what comes next? Is it video or is it lighting?
I think lighting, because without lighting, you can't really have good video. Without good lighting, you can't see the people on stage when you're in the room. So let's get the room lit well first, but let's start with the paint. So the paint on the walls even matters to how much light you use or don't use. So starting is a simple place is just using some paint on the walls that's maybe not white is a great start. I'm not saying everybody has to have a black box room, but white reflects brighter than anything else. So let's dim it down a couple colors and let's start looking for 3 to 4 good par lights, some type of a wash light.
Okay. Are we talking like, dozens of lights to make a good stage design, or is it much simpler than that these days?
It can be much simpler than that these days. You can use one light to light a couple people for some backlight or hair light. It adds some depth to the way your camera will look later on. And then about 5 to 6 lights across the front for a decent wash, and you can get away with that pretty easily. With LED especially, it costs way less nowadays.
And when talking about lighting specifically, what are some places where you'd say, oh, you can totally buy some used lights, they'll be great on this, versus maybe these 1 or 2 pieces in your lighting rig, you might want to consider something a little higher end or new?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely with the backlighting, kind of backwash and colored lighting, you can get away with used there. You can even get away with used on the front. But if you're going to spend money somewhere on the lights and decide you want to buy new, I would recommend on a front wash light. It just has more versatility and color temperature difference that you can find now.
And when talking about, a lot of our guests love the term weekend critical or mission critical. And if you're talking about your front of house console, that's very mission critical. Your front of house console
Absolutely.
goes down, your weekend's in trouble. We've talked to many churches and helped them in that instance. But if a light goes down, like that's not mission critical. Like a light goes down, you can still have church without a light.
You can still have church without a light. Yep.
Especially if pastor.
You can still have church without many lights.
You don't have to see pastor. You just have to hear him, Might be distracting.
That's why they wear the skinny jeans and the Jordans and the cool jackets, like to really pump up their.
Personally, I wish my church had less light so my wife would stop crushing on the pastor. Our pastor's like 70 something and she is in the Lloyd fan club. She's just like, Lloyd is so cool and he looks so good when he was young. And I was like, girl, you might not be able to go to church. You're just sitting over here lusting after a person plus 70. So less lights in church. Less lights in church.
All right, Togger, we got decent audio, even great audio in the room. We got a decent lighting. So at that point, a church, unless they're doing IMAG, am I missing anything that they have a good experience in the room with a good sound system and a decent little lighting package that the people in the room are set. They can experience the worship. They can experience the message. And it was a very cost-effective solution.
Yeah, I think aside from maybe some training for the volunteers, that's a big part. Making sure that the volunteers are trained really well and that they understand how to use the things that they have to get the best out of that.
Yeah.
That's the next step I would take. But aside from that, they're in a pretty good spot to go. And you can start really using what you have in the room as a stepping stone for being better for online now.
Okay. So as we kind of reordered the priority list, we did audio, lighting, and now it's got to be video. But I think we can make the argument as soon as you open up video, you got to do another audio and lighting for the video. So talk to us about when you add video elements to your church, when you add a live stream, what are all the things you got to think about in the audio and lighting land that you didn't have to do before you had video?
Yep. One of the biggest things is hearing people in the room. It seems like a simple thing that you kind of don't think about unless you're on the other end of it and you're like, man, this sounds like something is missing. But now we have to mic the audience as well. Like getting some mics to hear people react to what's happening on stage or even sing along. So it feels like you're sitting in church and hearing the people around you sing as a whole. That's a really important step. But then you also have to start thinking, oh man, well, if somebody's listening in headphones or someone's listening on their phone, this sounds way different than it does in the room. So you have to start thinking about how you're going to lay out the audio console. If you want to just have what they call 2-track, which is just what's happening in the room, that's a great place to start. And we can build from that and start to isolate singers and take control of those things from there with matrix feeds and things like that. But then if you really want to step it up, it's getting a second audio console. It's splitting those things off to have a mix that sounds great for online that's heard through the same type of speakers that people at home are listening to.
And if you have that second audio console, can you put it right next to your front of house, or do you have to have a whole separate production?
Nope, you'd want to have a separate isolated room where you're not hearing what's happening at front of house. Not saying that you can't make a great mix from front of house, because I make the argument all the time that I think you can make just as good, if not better, of a mix from front of house if you train people well and give them the right tools and invest in the right areas, and it saves a ton of money. Now, you can have a separate audio mix and a separate audio console and get a great outcome also. I'm not saying that. The largest churches in America do that, and it sounds great, and they do it for a reason. but there are ways to go about it without having to build that second room.
It's been interesting. One specific example I think of is why am I blanking on the name, Blake? I know.
Senior moment from Toby.
Senior moment. Well, we'll just we'll do it anonymously, but Flatiron's Church. I remembered. So Flatiron's Church outside of Denver, Colorado, massive church, and they have a lavo console at front of house. They have a lavo console in their isolated mixing suite. And when I went, they just had stuff sitting on the lavo console in the mixing suite. I'm like, why is it a mess in here? And they said, because we don't use it anymore. We just decided to pull the mix from front of house. It was good enough. We don't have to staff this extra room. We don't have to, keep pouring into the infrastructure. So yeah, like you said, even some of the biggest churches in America are starting to go that direction where they just pull front of house.
Yep. If you invest in training for your audio engineer and getting that position covered well, I think you can get away with front of house all day long and have just as great of a mix.
Yeah. How about lighting? If you're now suddenly live streaming, do you have to do different lighting as well?
Yeah, you definitely have to take lighting into account because now if it's what looks bright in the room and looks good in the room might be too bright for on camera. The camera lens sees things a little differently. So now we have to worry about what those temperatures are at, if it's even across the stage, things that the eye doesn't notice in the room, but as soon as you put it through a lens, it's like looking through a magnifying glass. You start to see everything.
And audio, going back to audio for video. So I'm thinking about, a church of 200 or 300 seats, and you have a live drummer on stage. And, if you want to put up a shield, you want to put up the little clouds for the cymbals, you might not need any mics. You might not need many mics. But if you suddenly want to live stream the worship, what do you now have to do with the drum set in order to make it sound good? Because you don't have many mics on the drums for the room.
Yep. If you haven't spent the money on the mics for the room, you can get away with a few, but it's not going to sound great on the live stream. You'll know it's there, but it's really isolated. So you start hearing exactly where those microphones are. So the best thing to do is start to invest in a mic package for each individual piece and part on the drum. And then you got to make sure that your front of house console can support that as well. So there's some ways that you can get around that with sampling and doing other things. But again, a lot of it, I feel like, comes back to investing in the volunteers that are running that.
Got to be careful, because then you fall into that snare drum mic rabbit hole, and suddenly you've forgotten to prep anything. You haven't sent POC invites.
That would totally be me. I would spend the entire week dialing in the snare drum sound, and then they'd be like, would you do all the other stuff for your job, Toby? I'd be like, what other stuff?
Yeah.
What volunteers?
Yeah. And Blake, I have a trivia question for you. So when we see on a lot of these live streams, some of these churches have these beautiful drum cages with the curved plexiglass.
Yeah, drum prison.
Drum prison. How much does one of those cost, Blake?
Well, to store a local inmate is higher than a teacher's salary, so probably about $62,000.
No. Yeah, you wildly overshot, but nice try.
How much does a drummer's prison cost?
So a drum prison...
Does it come with a bathroom?
It does not. I'm sure you can install one in there. You just cut a hole in the floor.
It doesn't feel very humane to put them in a prison without a bathroom.
Stop caging your drummers. But, one of those can easily be $8,000. Togger, have you seen some that are even more expensive than that? Or is that kind of the expected?
Oh, yeah. Range? No, that's about the cost for something that has light in it, has a door on it, and is able to have a fan. But then when you start adding AC, because you're in a plastic room, and that drummer gets hot, so now he needs air conditioning. But now that he has air conditioning, we have to go back and treat the inside of that again, because now we can hear the air conditioning in the microphones. So you can easily exceed $12,000 with no problem.
It's just crazy when you start to think about, like, let's live stream. What is going to get involved? Like, just the drum cage alone can be upwards of $12,000.
So it's hotbox prison. So we're putting them in jail with no toilet, no AC. Yeah. This is terrible.
It's funny, some of the funny moments that happen in these things. Like, one time a drummer got locked in there during the message, and so he didn't want to waved to everybody like, can you let me out? Because the message is going. So he just sat on the floor in there the whole time.
How do you know this? Did ChatGPT spin this yarn up to you?
I don't give away my sources, Blake.
That wasn't a baffle Blake that's coming up or was up.
Maybe.
Togger, can you do me a favor? Can you lean your head back just a little bit? I think Zoom has been cutting off your hair and it makes you bald a little bit more. Don't fall in your chair. Oh, that was so funny earlier. It made you bald for like 2 seconds. It was very fun for me.
Okay. We have his hair back in the frame now. Can we go on?
Look, I'm just here for the intro segment and the outro segment. Everything else in the middle, Toby, you got to carry this load. All right. I'm in podcast prison over here until we get to the fun questions.
All right, Togger. So let's talk about video then, because we kind of glossed over. We just said if you want to introduce video, now you got to go back to audio and lighting. So to get a good live stream, how many cameras do you need at least?
I think to get a good live stream, you need at least 3 cameras.
Okay.
You need a left, a right, and a center.
Do they need movement?
That fact can be argued, but I believe a good live stream has movement in it because people move around. So when a camera is just stale, it just feels like someone's like on the back wall spying at you. So you don't want to be creepy.
Do they need movement? What do you mean, Toby? You got like walking these cameras like dogs? That's what that sounds like.
Kind of. Movement, we're talking, putting it on a slider or a jib or something along those lines where it's not just on a tripod.
I don't know.
Right. Or having a volunteer behind the tripod.
Putting a camera on a slider that you could eat rather than a slider, like putting it on an actual tripod makes no sense, but whatever.
Blake, all of this episode goes over your head, and that's fine. That's why I brought you in for the fun trivia question of the drummer cage. I just felt bad. You're sitting over there like a big dummy.
Hey, I appreciate you bringing me in. I was just sitting over here like, do. How much can I act like I'm on the outline? But really, I could be on my phone.
Our poor listeners this episode.
Speaking of the outline, let's get back to it.
Okay. So, all right, you got at least 3 cameras. So
on sliders, a barbecue, a McChicken, and a McRib.
And then you have to put volunteers at these camera positions.
But don't let the volunteers eat the sliders.
Yep. You need to put volunteers at most of them to make sure that it's either recording or that the pastor's staying in frame, or not all of them need it. You can, use the robo slider, but if you want to save a few bucks, you need the one that someone controls. So it can start getting really expensive, or you can go the little more cost-effective route and keep volunteers at it and keep things manual.
Okay, Blake, I'm going to bring you back in. Let's all 3 of us honestly say here, when we watch church from home, are we engaged in the worship, in the music? Or are we just like, I really am just tuning in for the message?
Yeah, I just play that up on a podcast. I'm not watching it. I came down the stairs when I was at the beach with my parents. They were watching service on their computer. I was like, that's so wholesome. I'm not doing that. I'm just on my podcast.
Togger, how about you?
Yeah, I just go straight to the message.
I do the same thing. And like, granted, I go to Church of the City, some of the greatest Christian worship musicians on the planet. Their live stream is amazing, but I don't connect with worship over a live stream.
You just have your little sad voice in your room by yourself, like with them. Yeah, it's awkward.
It's awkward. So, Togger, talk from a production standpoint, a money standpoint. What if we said, nobody's watching the worship or engaging with it from home. Let's just get the message up on a live stream. What percentage of the cost and like volunteer needs go away if you're just going to live stream the message?
Oh, so much. You can pretty much go to just 2 cameras for the message. It's debatable whether you even need to live stream it or if you can just upload it afterwards. Mm-hmm. So you can save a streaming license that way. I know some of our friends aren't big fans of that, but it's true. You can put an SD card in and upload it afterwards and have the same result. It just won't be live in the moment.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to what Shep said. Instead of going straight to live stream, he was like, just get the message out on a podcast feed. Mm-hmm. You can pull that file. You can upload it very simply. Yeah. Start there. Oh, okay. This is like doing a lot of numbers. Okay, let's get the live stream up. Or like Togger said, let's get the video. It doesn't have to be live. Oh, wow. These are a lot of numbers. Okay, now let's do a live stream. Like you can step your way up into it and actually justify your budget rather than saying, let's spend all this money. I hope it works.
Yeah. And I think,
Absolutely.
we all need to take critical looks at our reality. So
I'm taking a critical look at this reality right now. Just these
I know,
red
it's
shoes,
very handsome over here. isn't it?
terrible tan pants.
So we're watching, again, the biggest, most influential church. We can sometimes see the numbers coming up on, Facebook Live or YouTube, and they're in the hundreds, they're in the thousands. And, if a church has thousands of people tuning into their live stream, yeah, they're putting money into that for very good reason. They're real people engaging. But I mean, how many churches are out there and their numbers like ticking like 2, 3? It's really hard to look at that and be like, why are we putting so much money and effort into this when, just like you just said, Blake, like we could put the message out on a podcast. We don't have to live stream the message.
This is so tough because now I can talk. We're talking marketing more so than we are production. It's like if you've put the message out on a podcast for your church members existing that miss it, they're on vacation, they're traveling, they got sick. That's great. They stay plugged in. So really you have to ask yourself, like, is this for existing members to stay connected, or is this to grow more people? Do we want to go full, help me, Toby, the church in Oklahoma?
Life Church?
No, the one it's like huge.
Life Church?
Transformation Church.
Transformation.
Yeah.
Like, do we want to go full transformation and like our audience online is even bigger than indoors? Like, you just kind of have to make that decision because there's no shame in saying, yeah, this is just for the people who showed up or who are local and they missed it.
And Transformation has a massive audience online that doesn't live in Tulsa, and they do a very specific thing that meets that audience. So I don't fault them for that. They're sharing the gospel with people that need it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you have to decide what is your goal?
Yeah.
Figure out your why.
So another honest soul searching question for us. So the three of us, if you're...
Are you still trying to find your soul, Toby? Is that what it is?
Totally. So let's say we move to a new town, or we're church shopping. We're looking at churches online in our area, and we pull up the live stream and it is not great. Are you going to go check out that church in person?
Nope.
Yeah, that's a little awkward.
Yeah.
I think you're about to give your life hack that I think is a really good one here.
Yeah. I mean, even like my church growing up, they don't live stream anymore. They did it a bit during COVID, and it was like an iPhone in the back of the room. It was like shaky. And I'm like, why are you guys doing this? Like we said, put up the audio of the podcast. Like, there's a great teaching pastor there, great messages. But it's, for me, any church live stream I see online, I'm just gonna be honest, if it's not really well done, I'm gonna just assume that if I come there in person, it's gonna feel like that. It's gonna be bad, and I'm gonna be turned off. And so, I present this idea in the book, but what if you just put a lot of resources into one great service, brought in great production people to film that service, and then put bits and pieces of that online? I mean, Blake, is that, from a marketing perspective, is that not much better?
Oh, it's way better. I mean, you need to figure out how to say, like, this isn't this week's service. This is, you make like a page on, hey, if you're wanting to check us out, or if you're new in town, like, this is what a service looks like, or this is, because if my understanding is right, it's not like we're bamboozling them. It's not like we're making the service better. We're adding the production value in the back. Like, we're actually bringing in a videographer, bringing in a lighting person. Like, if you're a church you're listening right now and you're like, I'm the only person here, we're trying to say, get yourself some help, and then just use that for the marketing.
It's like you watch a commercial for McDonald's and they show the Big Mac in the commercial and you're like, dang, that looks delicious. And then you go to McDonald's and it's not quite the same thing, but you're like, man, the commercial got me in here. Now I'm having it and like, man, this is still pretty good. But yeah, you show the best of yourself.
Yeah. Don't try to have to do it every single week. That's tough. Togger, what do you think about this? Ethically, morally, spiritually?
I agree. I think show the best of it. Walk people through what your church does and highlight those areas in a really good way. And then post the audio. And then once you have a good following from there, like you said, now let's add a camera and let's live stream maybe just a message. You just need a camera for that. It's one microphone, not a bunch of things to mix. And you can get away with just the message for a really long time.
Yeah. And it's going to be really unfortunate if you create this magical live stream and then people show up and your audio in your room is not great. The
That's
room is
correct.
all messed up. The lighting is not engaging. Like, again, you're not trying to get people online to come into your church to then be disappointed.
No, it's
Right. You're trying to give them a glimpse into what your church actually is.
Yeah.
That's the online impression. That's the lobby nowadays.
again, we're not saying make the service different. We're saying bring in some help on your production side so you can just further show what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Not changing anything in front of you.
Yep.
I have a question on the paint again.
Totally.
That was curious to me. A lot of times when you hear like fix your room, people hear that and they go, well, cool, unless I get some giant construction project approved, I can't change the room. But apparently you can change the paint. So like, Togger, do you have any other tips on the paint to make the lighting better, or like certain colors they should, stay in and stay away from? Because that is an actual actionable, like cost-effective way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can go to Home Depot and buy 5 gallons of paint and paint your stage for under $500 and have a really good outcome.
Okay,
yep.
So
everything inside on the stage area.
Okay, so you're not saying the whole room. You're saying paint the like wall of the stage.
Paint the area where the lights touch.
Got it.
If the lights touch it for people on the stage, that's what we should be painting there, and painting behind projection screens. A white projector screen doesn't look good on a white wall. You can't tell the difference in them. So pick in a gray color. That's something that's neutral. It doesn't have to be a black box room. Not every church is a black box church, and that's okay. So let's pick a good neutral color that maybe not tan, but something gray, something that enhances, something that the light doesn't reflect off of quite as much. It's a great cheap fix. Take a really solid step forward.
And there are some churches that are doing all white. It is an approach, and I'm talking like Mosaic Church in LA, Shoreline City in Dallas. But again, we see these things online and like, whoa, that looks great. Maybe we should do white at our church. But you don't understand all the things that go into that, down to probably even what they require their musicians to wear on stage so that it will look good with a white background.
Absolutely. You got to think about like you said, what anyone's going to wear on stage. And then doing an all white room requires really good lighting, and really good lighting gets really expensive.
Mm-hmm. Toby, we're going to start recording this podcast in the drummer's cage. Yeah. So we're going to rename the podcast the Black Box Hot Box. And that's where we're going to record.
Perfect. I was thinking, I saw this funny thing on social the other day. It said, now that winter is over, I can put away my black winter clothes and break out my black spring clothes. Because Blake, we wear black because it hides a lot of our faults.
Don't tell anybody, Toby. Yeah. Hush.
And
Push.
The same thing is true in churches. Like if you can get darker walls, it hides a lot of. When you have white walls, nothing can hide. Like you said, Togger, you're going to have to think about what you're wearing, your lighting, everything, shadows that are created. But when your walls are darker, and it covers over a lot of those faults.
Only skinny people wear white, which is why I'm wearing all black right now.
All three of us are. Except for my tan pants.
I was going to say, you went tan pants. So
I know, but they're very slimming.
Showing some confidence there.
I got these beautiful legs here, Blake.
I'm trying to like fade into the actual backdrop of our set. Just ahead.
Uh-huh. All right, Blake. I think we talked about the meat of the episode. So now we're to the fun questions that you like to ask. Oh, you have to pull up the outline to ask the fun questions?
Let's see.
Wow. I'm embarrassed for you right now.
Disaster story. Tell us a moment when everything went wrong for you in production, how you handled it, and the follow-up conversation and what it was like afterward.
Togger, do you have any specific disaster moments where
I just read it, Toby. That's the official version.
Unbelievable. Do you have any disaster moments where it's like we went way too far? We tried to overdo it. We tried to go above and beyond, but a simple solution would have fixed everything. I know I'm throwing you on the spot right now.
Throw him a curveball and just tell him something that's church.
Right.
That happened while you're working at ChurchGear and not at a church.
I'll tell you one specific. I was at a church and we did a Christmas service, and we did it very theatrical, to the point that we had dancers that were on ribbons kind of from the ceiling. That was not received as artsy and as well as we might have thought. It wasn't probably lit the best we should have lit it. So therefore, lighting wasn't right. It didn't translate on camera well. And if you were in the room, it felt very confused. So that was a very interesting conversation in the staff meeting the following week.
I mean, dancing in church, you should have known you were going off beat.
That's right.
There. That's a double, triple sin.
Yeah. David never danced in the Old Testament when he was worshiping God.
Wait. So Togger, if you were going to wrap us on the tech takeaway, man, and just, put me and Toby, wrap us up, put us in a box and ship us out for Christmas, what would be your tech takeaway to a room full of production people? And they might be in a white room. They might be in a black box room. Might be in a teal room.
Think about your stage first. Think about all the wires that are hanging out. Let's take care of those. Let's make sure that it sounds good in that room without a microphone plugged in. And then let's make it sound good with the microphone plugged in.
What do you
Let's cut down the echo and the noise in the room, and let's have a good starting point.
Is that a real test? Like, make the room should sound good without a microphone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
You don't want it to have a bunch of reverb in the room without the microphones on. You want to be able to control that.
Yeah, if your room if you're trying to talk in a room and you're hearing the echoes, if you put that through a microphone and then the PA, you're just amplifying the problem.
Which is what we did by putting me and Toby on this podcast. Togger, thank you for coming on to fix that problem, or at least mitigate it. In a bucket full of dirty water, you were the one bottle of clean water that kind of cleared us out. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anywhere you want to point people towards?
No, I think I just point everybody back to ChurchGear.com. Keep following us on Instagram, and we have some exciting things coming in the future. So stay tuned.
All right. And if you follow us, maybe you can finally learn, along with Togger, what his job title really means. Thanks for coming on, man. Toby, you're smiling real big over there. You got something to say? You want to maybe point him towards Tony Walters one more time?
Yep. TobyWalters.com or ChurchGear.com/TobyWalters gets you to the same place. I would highly recommend ordering my book, The Sacred Spaces Modern Production.
Word on the street is Toby is going to kiss the first 1,000 copies of the book. So if you want to get a kissed copy, now he is going to eat a cheeseburger with onion on it right before.
I hate onions.
Oh, you do?
I do.
So he's going to eat onion rings now.
There you go. I do like onion rings.
There's a quote in my quotes note of you saying, I'd eat anything if it was fried. I mean,
oh yeah,
you could probably fry my left arm and I would eat it.
That's right. Deep fried. It's deep fried.
And when he said this to me, guys, he looked like he meant it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We need to wrap this.
Okay.
And now it's time for a Church Tech Confessional, where church production people confess the worst thing they've ever done in church production. Here's one now.
Camera one that we have is stationary, so it's just like keep an eye on the band lead and the pastor. But the nozzle to go left and right can sometimes get stuck. Like you can see where someone shifts and it just like scratches. So I once unscrewed it almost all the way. It didn't fall off, but it did make it so that even though it was stationary, it would slowly lean to the left the entire service. So I just could keep holding on to it because I couldn't just re-screw it while I was live. It just kept shifting to the left, and I'm like, oh.
Hey, you have your own Church Tech Confessional that's, 45 seconds to 2 minutes? Send it to blake@churchgear.com, and you might just hear it on the podcast.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the ChurchGear Studios.
Blake, did you know there's actually a very famous song called White Room?
I didn't. Did you know that our cameras are all on sliders, but I ate all of them as well?
Blake, White Room is by the band Cream, which the lead singer was...
Cream?
Cream.
Not Creed.
No, not
I
Creed.
really feel like you're pulling my leg right now.
Creed and Cream are two totally different bands, and the lead singer of Cream was Eric Clapton.
What?
Now, yes.
I thought he was a country singer.
That's what you said last time. I love when I asked you, who's Eric Clapton? You said, country singer? And then I asked you what band Jimi Hendrix was in.
My mom still gives me crap for that one. I can't believe this band's name is Cream. This is a bad decision.
Well, they were from the 60s. Like, Creed was from the late 90s.
Forget the Creed part, Toby. There's just a lot of ways that Cream is a weird band name.
Yeah.
Also, they should have a fat bass player and call him Heavy Cream.
Wow, this ending has really got off the rails. I am very proud of the one person still listening right now, hoping for something helpful, because you're not going to get it.
Listen, if you were looking for something helpful, they turned off after the third episode. They're coming here for their little daily dose of nonsense.
That's right.
To handle the stress of church production. And if you want to handle the stress of church production along with a friend, send this episode to them and also buy Toby's book, and y'all can have a pal in the chaos.
And listen to White Room by Cream and then paint your stage black.
And put some cream in your coffee.